Red Ray Gun Limited presents...
The Benji and Nick Show. Hello.
Hello. What were you doing, Pierce Brosnan? Then?
No, I just made a yelping noise. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good day.
Good to be here.
Good night.
Oh, no, I was going to say good night. Damn goodness.
Loch Ness, come on.
I'll give you that.
Oh,
That was in my mind.
Well, that was the Loch Ness game. It's not a game, and it's not about Loch Ness.
But this is the Benji and Nick Show, your number one podcast of vintage TV in the whole universe, including astral planes, whatever they are. Basildon, yes. We talk about vintage TV from the past, TV you might remember, TV you might want to forget. We talk about it, jam about it, and let you know whether it's worth watching. Nick?
Yep. What?
It's the bit where you say who we are.
Oh, I'm not Benji.
And I'm not Nick.
I think we've
forgotten
that
this
for
week?
several weeks, haven't we, that bit?
Yeah, we just forgot who we are for several weeks. What are we covering today, Nick?
We're covering Three's Company. It's a sitcom in America from 1977 and 1984. The interesting thing about it is that it's the American version of the British TV sitcom Man About the House from 1973 to 1976. Now, I'd never seen Three's Company. I was a huge fan of Man About the House when I was, a youngster. Bit of stock music as the theme.
Classic,
yeah,
absolutely.
And I was, even though it's actually rubbish, I was very invested in it. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, save that one.
Yeah. Our special guest reviewer Shelley Dean will be here, and of course, she suggested Three's Company to see what us Brits would think of it. That's the thing.
Interesting.
Jamie Anderson. It all depends on what time it is when we get to. He's got a very narrow window of availability, so I'll try.
Those windows in castles, that you shoot arrows from. They're very narrow.
What are they called? Those things?
Oh, I used to know. I can't remember now. I've sort of let my castle arrow window castle. That'll get it up.
If you're new to the podcast, you
embrasier and embrasier.
I never knew that. Wow.
There you go.
So he's just got a very small embrasier.
I might start using that from now on.
Yeah.
I've got a small embrasier.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, you should go to the chemist.
Jamie Anderson is the son of the late, great Jerry Anderson, for those of you who are new to the podcast. And he occasionally just pops in because he is a really dear friend and colleague of Benji. And me, and mine, me, mine, it, I. In a moment, we'll be having a look at your emails, which you can send in to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com and send in suggestions of what you'd like us to talk about, comment on previous shows, or just really say anything you like. It's that kind of a show, isn't it?
Just talk. Just let us know whatever you like. That's the beauty of it, The rule is there are no rules.
No.
In a moment, of course, your email sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. But first, we're doing a little shout out, aren't we?
Well,
to one of our loyal patrons.
Oh yes, yeah. I just wanted to say that we you can subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com. And, those of you who are subscribing, thank you very much indeed. And it's helping us to create all sorts of extra content for you, like extra commentaries, TV dinners, Inside the Telly, which is a fascinating drama comedy. All sorts of great stuff. You really ought to go and have a look at patreon.com. Yes, the first shout out. Do it.
This one's a Nyrin Hunt, who many of us know him as a keen amateur beer photographer. That's right, he photographs beer in the wild. Beer that falls from trees, beer that grows in lakes, you name it. He's very sensibly restrained. Good old Nyrin.
Thanks, Nyrin. And so now your emails sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com, which I seem to have written about 5 times in the script. Sorry about that.
Yes, you have, haven't you? You've gone bananas.
Shall I read this first one? I don't know.
Yes, please.
The title is, the subject is Hello from Lancashire. Hello from Dorset.
From Eastbourne.
What county is Eastbourne in?
East Sussex.
There you go. East by name, East by nature. What?
That's me.
This was sent on the 29th of January in the year 1057.
Great year.
Yeah, but just a few years before the Norman invasion, wasn't it?
So they're all getting prepared, I suppose, aren't they?
Probably fighting Vikings.
Yeah, or just getting their shoes fitted for the big swim.
Okay.
They're getting their armbands ready, to swim across the channel.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the Normans?
Yeah.
I was thinking about the Anglo-Saxons.
Anyway, the Anglos, they're doing their own thing, aren't they?
Sharpening sticks. Michael Herbert is the sender of this very highly anticipated email.
I'm all ears.
That always makes me laugh. I just see someone with like ears all over them, just loads of ears. I'm all ears. Good morning, he says.
Good afternoon.
We could start the Loch Ness game all over again, except that it isn't a game. And it's not about Loch Ness. I hope you are all keeping well and safe. Down and safe. I would like to make a few suggestions for future vintage viewing. If you were wondering what Patrick McGoohan would have been like as James Bond, look no further than the Danger Man episode, The Battle of Two Cameras, in which John Drake wears a tuxedo, and there are scenes in a casino, a femme fatale, a villain who wears a partial face mask, and fighting, of course.
Excellent.
The Avengers episode Wish You Were Here gives Linda Thorson a chance to shine on her own in this enjoyable parody of The Prisoner. Yes, it is rather like that, actually. The series Bill Brand was broadcast in 1976. It was written by Trevor Griffiths and starred Jack Shepherd as a newly elected left-wing Labour MP from the North whose biggest battles are with his own party. It very much captures the feel of Britain in the mid-1970s, which I can remember all too clearly. So can I. I think you're a bit older than me, Michael, but yeah, I remember it too. He's sent a link to that on YouTube.
Very interesting. I'll have to forward that to my friend Robin, who starred in a Trevor Griffiths play.
Did he?
Yes, he did, with Paul McGann, called England's Green and Pleasant Land. There's actually a documentary which he's made, which is out on Amazon about it. But it's very similar sort of Trevor Griffiths theme kind of there about, it was all about the subculture of skinheads in England at that time and kind of working class England and the political sort of situation. Very interesting.
And oh no, I was going to say I thought I knew who Trevor Griffiths was, but it wasn't. I'm thinking of Trevor Preston, aren't I? Who did?
Yeah, it's different.
Ace
Trevor
of
Griffiths
Wands.
as a writer. He's done lots of stuff like that. Really, very interesting.
Here's a series that Michael's mentioning that I remember. Do you know about Rock Follies?
I've heard of Rock Follies, but I've never seen it.
Could you try again?
Siri obviously thought I said something that resembled the word Siri then, because she just said, I didn't get that. Can you try again? No, shut up!
No, Siri, you have not seen Rock Follies. Now behave.
Rock Follies ran for 2 years from 1976 to 1977 and starred Rula Lenska, Julie Covington and Charlotte Cornwell as an all-female group trying to make it big in a dog-eat-dog world. Yeah, the scenes where dogs ate dogs were quite disturbing. There were no scenes where dogs ate dogs. That was a joke about the phrase dog-eat-dog. The music by Howard Schumann.
Is a mum, that's good enough for me.
Fiction crossed into reality when the soundtrack was a big hit. I remember I loved Rock Follies because, 76, 77, I was a young teenager and it was a bit adult, it was a bit saucy, a bit rude. Ladies with not much on, Anyway, on that note, Michael says best wishes, Michael Herbert. Thank you, Michael. We must bear those in mind. That was a really interesting journey, as indeed all your emails always are.
Well, we got one here from Adam Graham, sent on the 1st of the 2nd, 2021, the year of our Lord 50. The year 50.
Wow, that's early.
What year is it? 50. Well, there's been probably about 50 of them.
50, but I think the Romans have invaded, haven't they? Because I think it was AD 60 when Boudica had a bit of a scrap with the Romans.
The old Romans. The
rocking and rolling.
The subject of this one is punching Brian Donlevy. Don Levy.
Do you remember? He's the guy who played Quatermass, Bernard Quatermass, in the Quatermass movies. Hi, I'm Quatermass. I know I look like a gangster, but I'm Quatermass.
I'm a nice man.
I'm here for the American distributors to take this movie. I am completely inappropriate in this role.
So true. Nick and Benji, a follow-up to the previous email. I thought you'd enjoy this story from Life magazine from 1943 about Veronica Lake punching Brian Donlevy. Here we go. Ow. How I punched Brian Donlevy. There we go. Take Brian Donlevy. It wasn't a question of whether he liked me or not. I was pretty sure he didn't. I'd played with him in Wings, and there I was again playing with him in The Glass Key. That sounds quite good. In the first scene of the picture, we were introduced to the action called for me to hit him on the jaw. Well, I really hit him. I've said I could punch, and that time I did. You know Donlevy, how he's built. He must weigh 200 and he's not over 5 foot 8.5 inches. But he just stood there and took it. He didn't expect my punch would be anything, so he didn't roll with it or anything. I saw his eyes glaze and I knew I'd really hit him. Right away I began to cry. I was terrified. As Donlevy's sense came back, I saw what he was going to do. He has an actor's face. You can see what he's thinking. He wanted to kill me. What's the matter? He said, hardly opening his mouth. I don't know how to pull a punch, I said. To which he replied, I'll give you till next take to learn, he said. Ouch.
I'll give you till the next take to learn. As he pulled out a machine gun.
My face. Awesome. That's great. Thanks for sharing that.
I do. I mean, I don't wish to, wish ill upon the dead, because Brian Donlevy must now be deceased. Not after that punch, but I feel that in some way that is his reward for playing Bernard Quatermass so badly that Veronica Lake punched him, and that inevitably happened before he was in Quatermass. But I feel
he's long dead. He died in 1972.
Yeah, and probably had played Quatermass before Veronica Lake. Played Quatermass after Veronica Lake hit him, because he was sort of on his uppers. And that's why he took the role of Quatermass. He took the money and ran, according to Nigel Neal, the creator of Quatermass.
I suppose you would, wouldn't you? You would.
Well, indeed. On a Quatermass theme, the next email is called Quackermast and the Punt. And it was sent on the 1st of February in the year 1159.
Ooh, nice. I like it.
I bet someone built a cathedral that year.
1159?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Cathedral.
While you're looking that up, I'll read it. Dear Benji and Nick, I'm really enjoying the podcasts. Thank goodness. And I've just listened to your latest on the movie version of Quatermass and the Pit. I wanted to bring to your attention the Blu-ray version of the TV series. You mentioned that you owned it on DVD and that the picture quality was murky and strange looking. Well, it has been released on Blu-ray by the BBC with the original film elements having been remastered, and those scenes look wonderful. Oh no, that's on the DVD as well. They've remastered those bits. I think I meant Quatermass Experiment. I keep saying Quatermass and the Pit when I mean Quatermass Experiment, because I did finally watch all the way through the 2 surviving episodes of the Quatermass Experiment, and I highly recommend them. They are just beautiful, It's really old-fashioned, and they were working under such difficult and primitive circumstances, and to see them come through with something that's so engaging, it just made me pine for the missing episodes. Really seriously, you know what I mean? Like they'd been stolen from me. I'm such a soppy old Hector. Yes, so I think this is the best version that will ever be available, and far better than the DVD print. Well worth checking out. Also, have you ever watched the series Lex? Have you watched that?
I've never watched Lex, no.
I did watch some of it back in the day, in the 90s, and it was basically a little bit like a more sophisticated version in its production method of Underworld, in that everything, and I mean the Doctor Who story Underworld, that everything was a matted background. There were hardly any sets, And they thought, hey, we can just mat everything. But also it was extremely unpleasant. I remember it put me off watching it. There was an execution scene where they just covered someone in oil and petrol and set them alight, and it was really quite unpleasant. Yeah, it's a real oddball sci-fi show from the late 90s based aboard an insect-like living spaceship known as the Lex. It features a motley crew consisting of Captain Stanley H. Tweedle, Zev X, parts love slave, parts cluster lizard, Kai, the last of the Brunnan G, who happens to be a dead assassin, and 790, a robot head with attitude. Oh, yeah, I remember that. The show follows its own path, and cannot be likened to any other TV show I've seen. Yeah, that's true. All 4 seasons are vastly different in story and tone. I think it is rather fun and might be one for you to check out if you are not familiar with it.
I really want to see it. For ages I've wanted to see it, but I've not had a chance.
I think you'll be disappointed.
Probably, but, stranger things have happened for me to like it.
Anyway, keep up the good... And thanks for all the entertainment. The good what, though? BCNU Nigel Preble. And he does underline the fact that his pronunciation of it is Preble, not Preble. I think I might have said Preble once as a joke. Or just out of incompetence.
Now, interestingly enough, whilst you've been reading that, I've been doing my research. That's why I've been a bit out of the loop. There was indeed a cathedral built in the year 1159.
Thank goodness.
It was the cathedral in Germany, Freising Cathedral. Beautiful looking cathedral, actually, which was founded in the year 1159. But as well, it's also one of my favourite popes died that year, which is Adrian IV. He was the only English pope. There we go.
That's why he's favourite.
Yeah, that's why I like his English pope.
Who has a favourite pope?
Me. My favourite pope is there's another pope, Adrian, who died because he choked on a fly, and I sort of
I don't know why he choked on a fly. Perhaps he'll die.
And that's just what he did. This Pope Adrian IV's real name was Nicholas Breakspere. What a good name!
Wow.
That's your theatrical playwriting name, isn't it? Nicholas Breakspere. He breaks spears and he shakes them.
He's more extreme than Shakespeare. He doesn't just shake them; he breaks them.
William kind of goes, hey, like that, whereas Adrian goes, what do you think of that spear? And then he dies from a fly. But there we go. That was. Good Lord, he's dead. That was 11:59. Thank you. See, this is the good thing about the Benji and Nick show. You get a lot of stuff. You get great TV trivia. You get a bit of history, and every week, who knows what?
It's good, isn't it? It's good. I like it. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Well, at this stage of the game, I've invited Shelley Dean to join us, and so we're just waiting. I'll just. Do you want to say anything in the meantime? Oh, it's a pen. The pen is flying past. I'm just WhatsApping her saying, invitation. Oh, she's there. Hello.
Hi there.
Willkommen.
Nice to see you. You've got an interesting background. Shelley's got an interesting.
Yes,
what is it?
I changed it. It's a marbly gold wall hanging that I decided to put up because I was getting bored with the other thing, and I
fancied a change.
I did, and it's pretty.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah.
It's just
lovely.
abstract. It's like a close up. It could be like a close up of a stone, like a fancy stone.
Yeah, like in the middle of those massive amethyst things.
Yeah.
Love a fancy stone.
I mean?
Love a fancy stone.
Yeah. So that's
Hello,
what
my
it
name's
is.
Fancy Stone.
Hi, Shelley Fancy Stone Dean here, reporting
Shelley
live
Fancy Stone.
from inside of a stone.
Which is fancy.
Inside.
Which is fancy.
Here is your fancy stone music.
Yes.
Fancy Stone.
So how are you guys?
Yeah, we're okay. We've been reading out some emails.
Alrighty. All right. Well, since I'm here now, I am
Yes.
going to take this opportunity to announce a special patron shout out. And last month, you may have heard us mention David Tremont. He is a good friend and follower of the Benji and Nick show. He lives down under in New Zealand, and I'm going to do my favorite thing to say about New Zealand accents. Eggs. That's how they say the word egg.
Eeks.
I watched the not the British Bake Off, the New Zealand Bake Off, and it was constantly eggs. And he lives there inside a scale model of an intergalactic shoe sales starship. Nice work, David.
Thank you.
And nice work on me saying shoe sales starship.
Shoe sales
I'd like to
starship.
give you a challenge.
That's what it's about.
Shelley says shoe sales starship.
Inside a
Down by
fancy
the seashore.
stone.
Inside a fancy stone.
Well, this week we are doing Three's Company. which we explained earlier on, is the American pilot's episode, well, I suppose episode 1, the American adaptation of Man About the House.
Yes, it
Shells,
is.
Give us a lowdown.
Well, as you just said, it's a adaptation of the British show, and it's called the show is called Man About the House, and this is the pilot episode that we watched, and coincidentally, it is titled A Man About the House. And so in the show, in this particular episode, we meet Janet and Chrissy, who are two single ladies who are in need of a roommate to share their apartment. And the morning after they had their going away party for their last roommate, they find a strange man passed out in their bathtub. This is Jack. They decide to ask him to be their new roommate, but first they need to figure out how to trick their prudish landlord into letting a man move in with them. And then with that trick becomes the basis for the rest of the series, all the innuendos and misunderstandings and everything that goes along with it. So that's in a nutshell what this episode is about.
Yes.
Interesting.
Who's going to start?
Well,
You guys start, because I gave this to you. Yes.
Well, I mean, so I went into this one with an interesting perspective, because I'm not really that big on American comedy. Be brutally honest with you, Shelley. I just, especially old American comedy, I feel like some of it can be pretty dreadful at the best of times. Of course, discounting the fantastic Kenan and Kel, which is superb in every way.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. He just showed his age, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go. But you know, I really enjoyed it, actually. I thought it was so much fun. It was just, I controversially will say this, I actually preferred it to the first episode of Man About the House.
And you're not alone in that.
That's a considerable factor.
A lot of people online, that I came across that a lot when I was researching, some tidbits about it, was a lot of people did say they preferred it, which is unusual.
That's exactly what I thought. It was very unusual for me to think that as well. But I thought I thought that the jokes in this were executed far more efficiently. You felt like the two young girls who are, those characters, they're much more fun dynamic in this particular American version than they are in the English version. That's not to say I'm sure that dynamic changed over time, as all things do. But in this, they were fun and they were kind of light-hearted, and it's very corny. It's very incredibly corny, and some I suppose the thing that I found really interesting when comparing them both is nearly all the same jokes, and that's why I'm saying that I preferred the American version, because I found it funny. Like I thought that there were some really amusing bits, whereas the same jokes are being said in the English version, but it didn't feel
they didn't land. As far as I was, because I did watch Man About the House right after I watched this, just because I wanted to make I wanted to make the comparison.
Irresistible.
Yeah, and what I found was the British one was just like Benji said, it was basically the same script. It was shot for shot and lines and all of that, except. And I think this just falls into British humor versus American humor, is British humor just tends to be far drier. They just kind of will say it and leave it there, whereas an American sitcom specifically will make sure that's a joke. Ha ha ha, did you get it? That was a joke. We're going to hit it. That's their punchline. And then you got the live audience who... I think we discussed this during the Happy Days one, where it's like you've got the laugh track that's going, hey, don't forget, that's where you're supposed to laugh.
Don't forget, it's funny.
Yeah. So I agree with that. The humor was definitely, even though it was the same script-ish, it tended to lean a little bit more, because the American, just in general, John Ritter and Joyce DeWitt and Suzanne Summers were a lot more, I should say, over the top in their performances.
Well, I think you're being a bit unfair to them. I don't think they're over the top. I think that they are...
Comparatively speaking.
Well, I don't even agree with that, because over the top, to me, suggests that it's not, there's no reality in it. And the thing is that and it pains me to say it because Man About the House, I was a teenager at the time and I loved it. It was like the funniest sitcom on television, people thought. And I loved the characters and I loved the whole saucy thing of the man living with the ladies. And, I thought the ladies were gorgeous. And the thing became in Man About the House about Chrissy and Robin, Robin really loved Chrissy and really wanted, it was done in a saucy way, like he wanted to get his wicked way with her, but you kind of thought, oh God, he really loves her actually.
He cares for her, yeah.
And I think in the final episode, she finally marries someone else. And then before she goes off on her honeymoon, she gives Robin a kiss and they have to be prized apart. It's rather touching. And we're all going, oh, but marry him. But it has to be said that I just think the American show is slicker. It's more professional. The English one feels a little bit amateur in comparison. The American show, it's a big set and it's designed totally brilliantly unrealistically with wide open walls so the audience can see everything. The British one just looks like it's on little boxes, you can barely see into rooms and things.
It's very dingy, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's typical because rooms and houses are bigger in America.
It's true. And to be fair, this is actually the third pilot that they shot.
Wow, that's interesting.
They had 2 other attempts at making this show.
Right, what went wrong?
Actors, producers, there was just a whole bunch of behind the scenes stuff that the networks just were like, no, this is too much. We can't have this. But I think it was mostly the acting, the actresses that they hired, because John Ritter was Jack Tripper from the get-go.
Right.
And
he's a brilliant comedy performer, isn't he?
Oh, he was amazing.
He's got it all, really. He's got great comic timing and he's beautiful.
Yeah. And, it's funny because a lot of research I was doing, I discovered that his goal was really to be a more serious actor and to have, and then he just, it's not that he got typecast, but just this is without a doubt his most memorable role that he ever played. And he's played a bajillion roles.
And I certainly recognize his face. I've seen him in movies and things.
Yeah, tons of movies, tons of TV. But he, and something I discovered about him is that he studied under the for physical comedy. He studied, who was it? Now I'm not gonna be able to find. I had it in my notes. I have too many. I took so many notes over this. But anyhow, he just
read them all out now.
Trained by improv legends Harvey Lembeck and Robin Williams.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Which was very surprising to me.
Well, he's got good funny bones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He knows how to make a joke land, and he knows how to physically make comedy work.
Yeah, and that's it's funny for me watching this. I cannot tell you the last time I saw an episode. It has, it's been on in syndication on, reruns on Nick at Night and all these channels. So I'm sure I've seen an episode, but watching this, it just brought, just as soon as the theme song came on, I was like, oh, it's Three's Company. But when I first watched it, I was young.
Yeah.
In the late 70s, early 80s,
rude,
I was young. But here's the thing, watching it, I tried to put myself back into the, who I was when I watched it the first time. And I remember I didn't, that all that stuff, all the innuendos, all the sexual risque-ness about it, it went over my head as a kid. And what drew me to it was the physical comedy.
Yeah.
Was the Jack Tripper character. I didn't know what gay and straight and why, I think I remember thinking, oh, well, they say he's gay, well, that just means he's a nice guy and that's why he can live with them.
Yeah.
I didn't get the
absolutely.
whole, but
the English one's more offensive, isn't it?
The English ones,
because they don't use the word gay, they use a derogatory word beginning with P, and that is the punchline of the episode.
And it ends on that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, and it just, but it was that much earlier. It was 1973. You see, And just the difference between the UK in 1973 and America in 1977.
Absolutely.
I mean, the word gay is used in Man About the House, where he's talking to a chap on the phone. And that whole section is not in the American one, is he? Where Robin Tripp says, I had an offer of somewhere to live. I don't need to live here. And he phones up a guy who's clearly an older gay man who's just fallen out with a partner and is clearly, the implication, in a very predatory way, looking for a young man to come and live with him for nefarious purposes. And Robin Tripp, we don't hear the voice of the man on the phone, but Robin Tripp is asked if he's gay, and he goes, "Yes, well, I'm very happy, yes," because he doesn't understand it. And the audience are tittering in a kind of dirty way, and then then the penny drops with Robin that he means, "Are you?" Gay, and he's kind of, and he goes, "Oh no!" and it gets a laugh because it's horrible and nasty and pervy, and it's very much a mainstream British 1973 offensive audience's reaction to it. And so that's why they can't repeat it. There was a follow-up to Man About the House,
which is always on.
Called Robin's Nest, which can be repeated because there's nothing really offensive in it. But Man About the House is just a few years earlier, and it's just too much now. You just can't. Not even Talking Pictures TV are showing Man About the House, are they?
Wow.
They're showing Robin's Nest all the time. But
some things age better than others, and this actually brings me on to a point that with the John Ritter. Hands down, beasted this role and did a fantastic job.
Yes.
My controversial thing I'm going to say, though, is that I mean, it's no surprise at all. I really think Norman Fell just doesn't cut the mustard in this for me as Stanley Roper.
No.
The problem is you can't compare him to Brian Murphy from George Roper, who of course George and Mildred being one of I love George and Mildred. I think it's a terrible.
George and Mildred was another. You see, Man About the House is so successful. It has two spin-offs.
We had two spin-offs from Three's Company as well.
Oh, did you? Wow. What
Same
did you
thing.
have? What? And
the Ropers and Three's a Crowd, I think, was what the.
He didn't go on to run a restaurant, as in Robin's Nest. Robin Tripp goes on to run a restaurant.
I honestly don't think I watched Three's a Crowd because I had gotten older at that point and didn't care, I guess. Yes. I don't know. But I do remember watching The Ropers. The Ropers was fantastic because I felt like your George Roper was a lot more cantankerous.
Yeah.
Just angry and rah. And ours was just more
grumpy. He's grumpy, isn't it? Yours is grumpy and long-suffering, whereas George Roper in the British version, the British version is dirty and seedy, isn't it?
Absolutely.
George and Mildred have a dreadful marriage where there's Mildred in the British version is much more sexualized, isn't she? She wears tight clothes, and she really wants to hump any man she gets near.
Absolutely,
because George Roper won't do the deeds for whatever reason, and she is constantly referring to this, and that it's very gently referred to in the American episode, the one episode I've seen, whereas
it's very blatantly funny. But it's quite sort of fun. It's a different level of lust, whereas in the American one it's much more like, he's not going to do it, whereas
the British version, it's like, you can't get it up, is the implication, which is just it's just dirty and seedy, and the thing about the British version, you can sort of smell the wallpaper, can't you? It's kind of whereas the American version is bright and brash and no one's got any real hardship in their life, and the British version is that very dull, scruffy 1970s whatever, and it does pale in comparison to the slickness of the American one. The American one was funnier, I think, although some of the jokes that didn't work in the American one work in the British one. I wish I could remember the examples.
There's one joke in particular which I thought really worked well in the American version but not in the British one, and I can't remember the opening line, but it was something on the lines of sex, and then the reply to that was, would you like to borrow a book?
Yeah.
And in the American version, that made me chuckle. I just thought it was quite funny. In the English version, I felt it was just a bit like
the audience didn't get it.
It didn't quite work. It wasn't. I don't know whether it was just not delivered right or it just didn't quite do it for me. But the differences for me is like I feel that there are subtleties to Brian Murphy's performance when he's and he's poking that woman's breasts, and there's like he's quite funny in the way he does things and the way he reacts. I mean, I love Brian Murphy. I think he's so funny. He's a fantastic actor and a fantastic
performance blighted his career in a way, really, because he was a great straight actor, but he went and played this play where he was like this all the time, and really that's all anyone knew. They thought he was like that, and if he appeared in anything, people would just laugh,
when they and he went on, I remember years later he was in a fantastic ITV trilogy of films called The Booze Cruise, which I really loved and enjoyed, and he played a character called Morris in that, and it's the exact same character.
That's what people wanted him to do.
Which is fine, but why not? Whereas I think Norman Fowle, I don't know, I just didn't like him anyway. I didn't warm to his character. Like with the original George, whilst he's a horrible, cantankerous bloke, you sort of kind of like him because he's a bit funny. Whereas I feel like Norman Fowle's just a grumpy man, and I don't know. But then at the same time, though, Helen Roper I think is funnier than Mildred. So
oh really?
I wanted to hate her as soon as I saw her, but I couldn't because I thought she had quite a few really good lines.
Well, I think a lot of. For me, I can defend it more because I know how these characters develop.
Yeah.
And this being the pilot...
Vice versa, though, for us with ours. It's
right.
that.
So the one thing I did notice in watching this was that Suzanne Summers' character, who plays Chrissy, the blonde, notice I pointed to my own head. I don't know why I just did that when I said the blonde.
Because you're blonde.
Because I'm blonde. Yeah. Sorry, that's an old song.
That was very good. Well done.
Thank you. See, that's me wishing I could sing. See, now I totally got off track. Oh, so Chrissy in this seems to be a lot smarter than her character ends up being written as, because as it goes on, she just becomes the epitome of a dumb blonde, and she's just ditzy, and everything is just
well, can I talk about the female characters, because they're very different, aren't they? The arrangement is different. In the British one, Chrissy is the brunette who's smart and the one who Robin ultimately fancies and falls in love with. And what's the name of the other character in the British one? I can never remember her name.
In the British one...
Jan? Is it Jan? Because it's Janet. Joan. It's Janet in the American.
Joe in the... yes, well, quite. Joe in the British one, that character, she is a dumb blonde and she is stupid for the entire series. She doesn't get anything except occasionally, and then surprises everyone, and that gets a laugh. But in the American one, they're both kind of smart in the first episode.
In the first one,
there isn't a dumb character and a clever character, and I was expecting him to be interested in the brunette, because I thought, oh well, that's like our Chrissy, but no, he's not interested in her. He's interested in the blonde, and so it's an interesting mix up there.
Yeah, it's the old standard, and it just reminds me of Gilligan's Island. You've got Ginger and you've got Marianne. It's that whole, because Suzanne Summers was a bombshell, sex pot bombshell. She was the be all end all, most gorgeous woman of the 70s and the 80s. I mean,
she's very beautiful. Yes.
And Joyce DeWitt.
He said in a very mature way. Yeah, she's a very beautiful woman.
She's attractive. But Joyce DeWitt got stuck in this very plain Jane kind of character.
That's the brunette.
The brunette.
She stayed on for the whole thing, didn't she?
But she's very attractive.
But that's just you have the dichotomy between the two characters, and Janet just was always the Marianne. I mean, because that's always the argument: who's more attractive, Ginger or Marianne on Gilligan's Island? And it's always, that shows your taste. If you want the bombshell or you want the cute little Southern girl.
Right. Did we ever watch Gilligan's Island?
We didn't.
No,
We've
I've
not.
I've never seen it.
Oh God, yeah.
Gilligan's Island is interesting.
I only know
It's quite
Gilligan's...
funny and it's quite rubbish at the same time.
But you know who
really.
I'm talking about when I say those characters,
Yeah,
right?
I don't. But
okay.
I only know... I'll tell you how I know the name Gilligan's Island. It's just from Galaxy Quest. When the guy says, those people are Gilligan's Island, they go, those poor people. And it's hilarious that they think Gilligan's Island is real. But since I didn't know what Gilligan's Island was, the joke was rather lost on me.
I just remember my introduction to Gilligan's Island was actually because we were on holiday in Germany with me and my friends, and we just decided on the drive over that we had to make one of the themes of the holiday would be that we're going to tell loads of these German people that Gilligan's Island is this huge national institution in our country, that we love it so much, and that everybody is obsessed with Gilligan's Island.
But they are in America.
They are in America, but we just wanted to see how far we can take it. And it was only when we were over there that we were like, we never even watched Gilligan's Island.
You had nothing to back it up.
Yeah, nothing to back it up. Just so, but every night, like in the pubs and that, like we'd be like, yeah, like in Gilligan's Island, like anything. Yeah, like in Gilligan's Island.
I'm just going to go to the loo. What, like in Gilligan's Island? Yeah. They always go to the loo in Gilligan's Island.
It's like that was the joke. Like the German would be like, yes, we go down the altar, but like in Gilligan's Island, that one. It's just so sorry. We're just so stupid and immature. I love it.
One of the things I'd like to say, and I'm very nearly serious, is that when you take two things that are from the same source, you know, and one is an adaptation of the other, it's like we did with the Doctor Who episodes and films.
Right.
It could be endlessly fascinating. You could almost write a really complex paper just on the comparison of these two episodes and the cultural differences and the way the jokes are spun in a different way, and what is appealing and what isn't. I mean, this was a huge hit in Britain, The Man About the House.
Yeah.
As was, of
Three's
course,
Company was
in the US,
massive here. And it still is.
But judged on sort of professional standards, I never thought I'd think this, but the Three's Company is much better. But, you know, Richard O'Sullivan, who plays Robin Tripp, you know, this guaranteed him. He'd already guest starred in a number of high-profile sitcoms, playing unlikable characters, funnily enough. And this was the first time, and as a youngster as well, when he was in movies, and he was in Carry On Teaching or Teacher or whatever it was called, you know, he always played unlikable characters because he had a slight skew-whiff mouth. So people always decided that he was a kind of, you know, nasty individual in that very, I don't know, body fascist way, that if someone isn't perfect, it means they're evil, you know. But then he got this role, and suddenly the slightly different mouth was like, hello, you know, it was a bit of a sort of friendly, smirky thing.
Suave.
And then Man About the House was the beginning of him being one of the big heroes and bankable names of British television, because he did Robin's Nest after this, and then latterly he starred in a thing called Dick Turpin. Have you heard of Dick Turpin?
Yeah, Dick Turpin,
it was
1979.
The Highwayman. And
well, you know, I've heard of him. I don't know of the show.
Well, and Richard O'Sullivan starred in that as Dick Turpin, and it was a high value, all shot on film, high production values. Family entertainment
written by
show.
John Carpenter of Catweasel fame.
That's right, Catweasel and Robin of Sherwood and all that. Yeah. So I mean, so he became really big, and it's been one of the tragedies for people, you know, followers of him, that, you know, he became ill and you know, I think lives in a nursing home now, and you know, although as we discovered in the last episode of the Benji and Nick show, he's not as old as perhaps we thought he was.
No.
But yeah, I mean. So an interesting thing, it really launched a star career. And also Paula Wilcox, who played Chrissy, she went on to star in a number of high-profile sitcoms and did quite a lot of drama. Sally Tomset, who played Jo, she had been a child star, and this really marked the end of her career. I don't think Sally Tomset went on to do anything more significant, because, I mean, I hate to be horrid. I mean, she has a sort of naive charm, doesn't she, as an actor? But she actually seems like she's not very good. You know what I mean?
She went to do one. She did one more job. She did the Wodehouse Playhouse.
Wodehouse
which
Playhouse.
Is a no. Was it?
That's how it's pronounced.
Wode.
I know it's pronounced Wodehouse.
How bizarre! How bizarre! Yeah, by P.G. Wodehouse.
Yeah.
I see now. I understand.
Yeah.
comedy series of short stories, and then that was it. Her career absolutely stopped, dead. And the last thing I've seen here is she appeared in Peter Pan in
She did a panto. That's very unlike your actors whose careers are over to be in pantos.
Yeah, so
I've just offended about 50% of equity now.
Oh, she was apparently in Doctor in Distress.
Oh yes, she was. I was in the studio. I remember I was in Doctor in Distress was a charity record to bring Doctor Who back when the BBC put it on hiatus in the 1980s. And yeah, I was in the studio filming interviews with them. Yeah, and she was just about the right level of star for Doctor in Distress because no one really famous turned up. It was all like one of the members of Ultravox and that bloke who used to be with so-and-so. You know, it was all that kind of thing. And it was this huge celebrity lineup of people who you looked at and thought, I think I saw you standing in the background once in something. Yeah.
You did something once, didn't you?
Doctor in Distress. Bring him back now, we won't take less.
That's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Well, I do want to just mention one thing I found.
Yes.
About, and this fascinated me. It was an interesting article about Three's Company, and in it was a quote from Lucille Ball, who is
sitcom
absolutely queen of comedy.
Yeah.
Her quote about Three's Company was, "It didn't set out to change the world. It just made us laugh, and that's why we love it."
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thought,
perfect.
That's it. That sums it up for me. Because that's, it really was. It was this silly, risque, weird comedy with the physical comedy, with the and it was another thing that I read that really kind of surmised the whole thing, which was it was a show that basically was something going on behind a closed door and somebody listening at the door, and what they think is happening is completely not what's happening.
Yeah.
And that basically that's like the setup for the whole, all the
and how much did they go with the unrequited love, will she, won't she kind of thing with the
Not very.
Oh, because that was a huge factor in the British one. I remember there was an episode of Man About the House where finally, because Robin had been sort of like tugging at her coattails, Chrissy's coattails all the time, like, oh come on, let's and all that. And there was one episode where they were in the house and in the flat, and there was a reason why she was scared, and perhaps the heating wasn't working. I can't remember what it was, and they were worried about mice and things, which had been earlier in the episode. And he goes into her room and she's saying, "You're not getting in the bed," and he says, "Come on, and eventually she melts and she looks at him and she goes, "Yeah, come on." And she means it. And he goes towards her and the floor is covered with mouse traps. And he goes, and the episode ends with him collapsing in pain on her bed and her laughing her head off. So the only chance he gets, mouse traps stop him.
It's blown.
And I remember as a teenager going, oh no, oh. I mean, I don't know what I expected to see, at 7:00 in the evening, full sex on ITV. Surely they're going to have sex now, thought the frustrated little teenager. But enough about my adolescence. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm going to give it probably, I'll give it a 4 because I actually enjoyed it far more than I thought I would.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely for me a 4 because it's a real pleasant surprise. And I love it when I see, it doesn't matter what level of comedy it is, when I see great comic skills delivering, it's always just a pleasure. Yeah. And this was classy. Yeah. I mean, it was just a rubbish old shot as live sitcom, but my goodness, they'd rehearsed it well, and they were good performers.
That was it. It was they knew what they were doing, and they absolutely knocked the socks off the British version. Shel?
Yeah. Well, mine is definitely a 5 because it stood up to my happy memories, even though my memories were completely misunderstood and I missed out on all the actual grown-up jokes and stuff. But yeah, it just brought back so much happy for me. So and it was just so nice to see John Ritter again and doing what he did best. And his death was just so sad and just
When did he die?
It was in 2003. It was a lot longer ago. See, time for me, I think 2003 was 5 years ago. But he had what they thought was a heart attack. He was on set of the show he was a star of, and they rushed him to the hospital and they misdiagnosed him, and he ended up dying. It was an aortic dissection.
Right.
Oh, God.
Is that what it was called? Aortic dissection. I was right. And his widow actually sued a bunch of doctors because of this misdiagnosis, and this was something that could have been prevented.
Oh, that's so tragic, isn't it?
So yeah, it was just so heartbreaking because he was only 54 and he was just such a genius, and young death is always horrific. So there's my 5. For John Ritter.
I just felt like a bit of a traitor to Man About the House because it was of great significance to me as a youngster.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just looks. But all British sitcoms look tatty.
They do.
Next to American ones, there is a tattiness to British television. But yeah, I think well earned. 4 exclamation marks there. Listen, I've invited Jamie Anderson. We found a window in which he's available.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We must close the window afterwards.
But I should do a special patron shout out just before Jamie arrives. What's that? That's a cassette. What?
It's a pen.
Oh, it's a pen. Our good friend Neil Allen, known to many as the Invisible Postman, because he's never delivered a letter in his life. Thank you, Neil, for being a patron. Let's see whether Jamie Anderson is about to join us. He said ready. I've sent him the invitation. The tension is literally
palpable.
Non-existent.
I could cut it with a butter knife.
I could cut it with this pen.
I could cut it with a pastry roller. A rolling pin, I think we'd call it.
Nice bloke, isn't he?
Old rolling pin.
Roland Pin. My name is Roland Pin.
I hope I haven't accidentally invited a different Jamie. Oh no, there he is. Is he right?
Hi.
Oh, there he is. Hello.
I saw him first.
Oh yeah, I have
look
my
window. Look what just arrived.
What's that? And a microphone.
On our way home.
Yours is better.
What? That's cool. No way.
Where did you get yours?
It's 65 quid, ex-hospital use from India.
Wow.
No way.
It's better than mine, isn't it?
Is it?
It's an electro-larynx. It sounds better than mine.
Do it again. Much more fun.
You will be like us.
That makes it hard
That
for
is
me
so
to breathe.
good. That is so good.
That is
fun, isn't it?
Is better than the one I've got.
Haven't you got the one with the weird tube in your mouth, Nick?
Well, I can do that, but that doesn't really work. But yeah, mine's so noisy, you don't hear the voice quite so well.
It feels quite noisy, but it seems to pick up all right on the mic.
Yeah.
So
I'm just trying to see whether mine's in here. So
Brilliant.
yeah, I keep. Here's mine. I wonder if let's see what mine sounds like.
on our way home. That sounds pretty
What's it
good.
good, is
Yours,
it?
Jamie.
Is it good?
On you will be like us. That sounds.
I set it a higher tone. I can.
On our way home, you will rest upon us like this.
I feel like I'm really missing out.
Anyway, it's weird because I can't hear myself saying it. Let's stop immediately. Now, I just add that I've got that for a very special reason, and it's not to entertain you. It's for something else.
No, it isn't.
So jealous.
Sorry. Right.
So
anyway,
jealous.
Well,
hello.
mine cost me about 200 quid.
Did it? Oh gosh, sorry.
Yeah,
Well,
it was from some American medical supplies company.
yeah. But did yours come in a glorious red pencil case like mine did?
Oh.
God, you get all the freebies.
What is the design on that pencil case?
It's generic sports.
Are they planets? Oh,
Go! Numbers and balls
hockey
and the word
stick, a
team.
baseball.
And yeah, see, it's like it's a very
Fabulous.
American pencil case. So Yes.
So, Jamie,
Hello.
what have you got to report? I don't know why I'm doing it like that.
I don't really know.
Unless I'm trying to be Brains from Thunderbirds. Mr. Tracy.
I'm just reading
That was good, actually.
the very important instructions of this thing. Well,
He said, on no account put it close to your neck.
yes, they're not safe for human use.
Yes, only use on dogs.
60 quid's just saying, 60 quid's really good. I've just had a look on eBay out of curiosity, and they're really expensive, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, it does look very old and used when you get close up to it.
It's probably been used on parts of the body we don't want to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. It's no, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. That was too rude. And it's probably not exactly what you were thinking. Anyway.
I don't know what I was thinking, but...
Stop thinking it immediately.
We've become a 1970s sitcom, which was...
Speaking of...
We were
Come
doing...
and knock on our door.
It's a good theme, isn't
We've
it?
been waiting for you. And here's just another quick little tidbit about the
please.
theme. It was sung by Ray Charles. But alas,
What?
not that Ray Charles.
Oh, really?
It's a different guy
Ray
named
Charles.
Ray Charles. And the theme song was composed by Joe Raposo.
Jamie doesn't know what it is yet.
Oh, Three's Company.
Yes.
Is an American television show that was based on the British Man About the House.
Brett, great. I've not seen either, so that's perfect.
Okay.
But are you aware of either?
Three's Company, I'm aware of, yes, but I don't think I've...
Not aware of
The
Man About the House.
Isn't that weird?
Interesting.
Isn't that strange? No, I don't know why that is.
Back to the Shelley fact. Sorry.
Yeah,
Shelley.
sorry,
Oh,
Shelley,
yeah. So Joe Raposo composed television theme songs for Sesame Street and the Electric Company, which are huge. I don't know if you...
We've heard of Sesame Street, but I don't know what the
Yeah, the Electric
Company.
Company was
Kids.
on par with the Sesame Street. It was a kid's show in the 70s.
Did he compose the opening thing or songs within or both? Do you know?
This is the theme song. Ray Charles. Okay, yeah, composed for...
No, for
the
Sesame
best.
Street is
Yeah.
what Jamie is asking.
Oh, that I don't know.
Oh,
Or
see, 'cause
Sesame
I didn't
Street,
do
as I like to pronounce
do a
it.
deep dive onto Joe Raposo. I did a deep dive onto Ray Charles because I was fascinated that there was another singer named Ray Charles.
Yeah, his name was
And-
actually Charles Ray, and he just inverted his name to try and get the fame.
Charles,
really,
comma
yeah.
Ray. Ray, comma Charles.
Deep dive, Shelley is doing a deep dive.
Can I make a proposal?
Yes.
You might.
We don't
know.
ever use the vocal.
Or only use
No,
that.
right, yes, yeah. Well, obviously,
The Electrolarynx podcast.
we should do an electrolarynx special. But also,
Yes.
I think you should do a special edition where you look at the theme tunes and songs of cult television. And
Wow.
their links and origins and who did what and surprise facts and... God, I'd love that. I'd listen
Well,
to that.
I'm on Joe Raposo's wiki page.
That's the
and
start of it.
he,
Let's do it now.
Yes, he did. He
Right
wrote
now.
the theme song
Yes.
as well as classic songs such as Being Green and C is for Cookie.
Oh, amazing.
C
Classic
is for
song.
cookie. I remember
C
that.
is for
I
cookie,
don't.
that's good enough for me.
C is for cookie, that's good enough for me.
I used to
Nice.
love waking up back in the 90s.
I
used to
believe
wake
Being
up early in the
Green
morning
was-
for Sesame Street.
Bean Green. Who sang Bean Green?
Kermit the
that
Frog,
early?
and I think it's not easy being green.
It's not
I
easy
believe-
being green.
Okay, Miss Piggy.
That's very good.
Is there a way to?
That's great.
Okay, yeah. So that's Joe Raposo, who is the composer. Raposo the composer,
Brilliant.
Sounds like
Joe
a magician.
Raposo composer.
who did the theme song for Three's Company, which is just a happy song.
It is. It's a happy song. That's
And
nice.
the Man About the House theme song was not nearly as fun.
It's just stock music, isn't it?
Yeah,
Well, that was
it's not
England
as
for
fun.
you, know. It's just
Stock music.
classic stock music.
So we're
I've got
doing a
it
new
on vinyl
sitcom,
somewhere.
and they just reach behind and go, I've got a record here, put that on.
Shove that.
What
on.
is it? I don't know. Just put it on, and we'll say that's the theme. They made a movie of Man About the House,
Great.
didn't they?
Called Bloke About
Didn't they
the
make
Flat.
a movie of it? They made
Bloke About
movies
the
of
Bungalow.
all those sitcoms in the 70s. Bless This House. They made
On the
2
Buses.
movies of On the Buses, which is a dreadful programme.
It was hugely popular.
I loved it as a kid, and then you watch it again, and it's the most offensive,
Dreadful.
appalling. If you thought that Man About the House looked a bit amateurish, On the Buses looks like nobody's really been paid to do it.
Yeah. It's true.
Except, why ain't you butler? Look at Shelley's face, like, what is
I'm
going
watching
on?
you guys all do this. Nobody who's watching, if you're just listening to this, you're not seeing the visual of
know
the
the
faces.
noise.
That's why I'm describing it.
Yeah.
I tried watching that Oh Dr. Beeching recently, and that's pretty dreadful as well, with old Butler in that one.
Oh yeah, Butler. Stephen, can't remember
Not
his name.
Butler. What's Mr. Oh, you Butler. Oh,
Back
Blakey.
to themes, Jamie. What would you? Because look, Jamie's behaving like a young person and looking at his phone.
Oh, sorry, there was nothing of any note there. I actually just saw a message from you saying, I've sent the invitation by email, but I'm here now, so I was just deleting it.
It's like a time travelling reading messages from me.
It is, yeah, very weird. I mean, obviously, you should have a Barry Gray section, and we could talk about the ridiculous academic thing of the Secret Service having a fugue as a theme tune, because that should never happen, because that's very strange.
That's true.
But also,
who is? Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Well, I was going to go for the Channel 4 News fact, which I'm sure you know.
What's that?
The
It's used
Channel
for
4
movie.
News theme. Yeah, it's from is it a Clint Eastwood movie or something like that? It's a
Well, they used it in the trailer for it.
Yeah, but it's stock music, which is has its roots in Western music, and of course, Chelly's going to go, what's Channel 4 News? Well, Chelly, it's a news program on Channel 4. There you go.
Oh my God, no way.
Which is like the 4th channel in Britain, you know,
Yes.
and that was incredible. We only had BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV, and then they introduced Channel 4.
Channel 4 with the best
And
logo of the bunch, I think.
And I remember the Channel 4 News started, and it had this trumpet. Right. And then I saw a trailer for Pale Rider, and I thought, that's just the Channel 4 News theme. And they just use that as a placeholder piece of music, because the actual movie doesn't have that music in it. And I've never really been able to get over the fact that the Channel 4 News starts with something that I associate Clint Eastwood riding along on a horse.
It is really
So
odd.
maybe the newscasters should come riding in on horses and then get behind this.
Just see Jon
It's
Snow
a brilliant
and
idea.
Christian Guru
I'm
Murphy
writing
doing
to
that.
them.
It's just sort of like and here is the news.
Can
That's
I?
my famous horse impersonation. Yes.
Can I give you an associated news fact? It's not associated. It's just a news fact.
Yes.
Did you know that on Good Friday in the year of 1930,
Yeah.
BBC News was on,
Right.
and they said, "Good evening. Today there is no news." And so instead they had somebody play the piano for the news slot.
Wish that happened now. Too much blooming news.
I've heard that. Yes. I've heard that fact before.
So literally nothing happened the day before.
Well, nothing that they deemed
Like-
to be of interest. That doesn't mean nothing happened, of course.
God, what a world.
Yeah, can you imagine that though?
I
What
love
a
that.
relief that would be.
Sometimes you can tell. Obviously, before coronavirus, which is all anybody ever talks about on any form of media now.
Corona what?
But before that, that thing, it's a cocktail. But I remember, you'd have those things like, and the news today. Charity person did this, or it's always something like that. As
when it was
large
silly
gathering
season, they called it. Yeah, when
Yeah.
not much was happening, when Parliament was in recess, and yeah.
It's all the
None
usual
of
sort
that.
of stuff. People
None of that
flock to
now.
the beaches today on a very hot day in the summer. It's like when it's snowing and you have to sit through all those drivelly, boring reports. So-and-so, let's see how so-and-so... Yes, it's snowing up here up north, and I've got
hiding in my
Julie and her
coat."
kids. I was having my lunch today, and the news was on in the background, and it had exactly that. It had... And later on, we will talk so-and-so whose kids have built an igloo.
I know, I saw that. And then in the middle of the report, the guy said, well, it isn't really an igloo. It's more of a snow cave. I thought, right, it's not even an igloo. So they've dug a hole in the snow. I mean, Shelley did that the other day to get her car working.
oh my, 39 inches was the official
Oh, that's quite
snowfall
a loss, isn't
in
it?
my in my town. 39 inches.
Well,
there are drifts of like 6 feet going on out there. It's crazy.
There's no snow
Crazy.
here. Apparently, it's going to snow on Sunday, which will be interesting.
We're supposed to get another big storm, supposedly.
It's
But
also
we'll see.
tedious. I hate
But what
snow
I wanted
anyway.
talking about old time news, when I got really into ancestry, and
Yes.
doing my genealogy, doing the family tree and the whole thing when my daughter was born, and I got a subscription to it's a website called newspapers.com, which is basically where they have scanned every newspaper from back in all the way back to okay, this is America, mind you, 1700s, which
Wow, the beginning of time.
As far back
Really
as
long ago.
1952.
Wow. I have socks that are older than that.
Notice
Did you
I had
know?
to preface
This
that.
house is at least 5 years old.
Well, anyhow, so just going back and looking at old newspapers just became this absolute fascination of mine because it literally was, Bob Smith down on the corner milked his cow this morning, and and that was the
didn't.
news. Yeah, and when there was something super duper
You can't
noteworthy,
drop a bombshell like that without going into detail.
it just became absolutely fascinating to me to be reading this stuff and just how the times have changed, even from when I was a kid, pre-internet. We didn't know instantaneously something that happened in England, say.
No.
Or you guys didn't know
I
what
don't
was
think
going
you've
on
ever
in
taken
America.
much notice of what goes on in England.
We've got quite an in-depth sort of history over here, and it's funny you mentioned family trees because I came across a report from somebody in my family from years ago, a parliamentary sort of report. I think I've mentioned this to Nick before. I think his name was James Clifford, but it's my favourite thing because his legacy is that in this formal report, which has been, documented, it said, James Clifford is a thoroughly unpleasant man. That is his legacy. That he's a really unpleasant. Apparently, he's a really nasty bit of work, and he was and always fighting with people. But what he used to do,
You've been trying to make up for him ever since.
I have. But he used to be really horrible. Like, he'd try and manipulate people into giving their land to him, and he used to fight people. He killed a man, I believe, and he used to pray and blackmail people. Like, if you don't leave this land to me.
He's a mafioso.
Really horrible bloke, but I love that. His legacy in the world.
A very unpleasant man.
That was his legacy. But
I like the idea of going back to Jamie's idea of theme tunes just briefly before we say ta-ta, or rather decide what we're going to do next time. And probably give another shout out. Could we all just consider, just for now, to name either the person we think is the best theme tune composer or our favourites of the moment? Or maybe just name a theme tune that you really like.
What, on telly now? Or
No,
from
in
the
your
past?
head at the moment. I mean,
So
if you say it
don't
now,
say it
you don't
out
have to
loud.
stick with it.
Okay, in my head.
The
at
idea
moment.
that is in your head, and then express it through your vocal cords.
I'm bowing out because I don't know names.
No, I was just going to say, or your favourite theme tune if you don't know the name.
So hard.
It is. I don't know the answer. Really.
I couldn't answer that because there's different reasons for liking different theme songs.
I can tell you who I sort of think is an absolute icon in terms of that is Duncan Lamont. Do you know Duncan Lamont, the composer?
Oh,
Yes,
Duncan,
Brother of
yeah.
Norman.
Norman Lamont. Yeah, I think Duncan Lamont is fantastic. He's done stock music for virtually everything. Came up with a theme tune for things like Mr. Ben.
Over Shelley's head. Then.
Hold on, where is the list? There's such a huge list. I want to make sure.
Try
That's
and
the
name
name of
something
this
that
show.
Shelley's heard of.
No, don't worry about me.
Well, you are here.
I'll just sit back. Yeah, but 90% of what you guys talk about does
I
just
know-
go right
I
over
know.
my
I'm
head, and
trying
that's
to
fine.
amend that situation.
It's fine. It's fun.
Jamie, while Benji's looking
Tales
up
of the
Duncan-
Unexpected, he did.
No, he didn't. That was Ron Grainer.
Well, it says here he was a musician for 112 episodes of that.
I know. Ron Grainer
112
did the
years?
theme.
Wow.
Ron Grainer did the theme of.
The theme tune. I think Duncan Lamont might have done theme tune to the Sweeney, but he's more of. I suppose he's more of a incidental music guy than perhaps a theme music guy.
Fair.
Jamie.
Well, I'm gonna go slightly childhood nostalgia wildcard here, and
Yes.
more for hummable, earwormy quality than anything else.
Hummable, earwormy.
And there's
That's
two.
Fabulous.
One is the theme from the Raccoons, if you remember that one.
Yes.
Run With Us, was it called? That's a good kind of poppy song.
All right,
I
you
don't
need to
know
hum
that.
a few bars.
Can you get it on your computer and play it for us?
Yes, I can.
It reminds me of, what are those chipmunks called? Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Alvin
Always
and the
makes me
Chipmunks?
think of that.
Oh, I hate Alvin and the Chipmunks. Ben used to watch that all the time. Oh, dear.
Run With Us, Raccoons. Here we go.
Oh.
Absolute 80s fest, isn't it?
Yeah, it is an 80s fest. I'm just waiting for the nice bit of guitar-y stuff. You wait for it.
If only you could see Shelley giving it some moves here. Those of you watching the video on Patreon are getting a real treat here.
Such power ballad, isn't it?
Can I say that I find that horrible?
Good. You wait for my next one.
It's going to kick in it?
I mean, it's amazing. My other one,
horrible.
even
Horrible.
worse than that, is the theme.
Yeah.
The theme song from Gummy Bears.
Oh, right. How's
Gosh,
that go?
really?
I'm not saying these are quality compositions, but I'm saying they're things that weirdly stuck
Yeah,
with me.
If we're going for great earworms, then you've got to go for
Yeah, I mean, this is
Fireball XL5
Fireball XL5.
is one of my new absolute favorite
Yeah.
in the entire world.
I was a spaceman.
I have it on my phone. That's how much I love it.
It's that Gummy Bears. What's that?
No, this is Pigeon Street. What a theme. You could meet.
Who composed that?
I don't know who composed this. It's very good though. Hello, goodbye.
Well, I've got a name
So
of a
good.
composer who I just thought about it for about 5 minutes. I thought, oh, it obviously has to be this
It's
person.
Nicholas Briggs, obviously. My absolute favourite composer.
Great theme.
Edwin Astley, who composed Randall and Hopkirk. What else did he do? He did
The
The
Prisoner,
Saint. He didn't do. He did a version of The Prisoner, but it was rejected. The
Laurie
Baron,
Johnson's another good one as well.
Department S. Whoops, Baghdad, which I've never seen. Gideon's Way, which is a fantastic theme. Gideon's Way.
Whoops, Baghdad.
Yeah, goodness knows what that is.
I don't think that'll be rebroadcast now.
That's what
just by the
George
title.
W. Bush said.
It stars Frankie Howard and was similar to his earlier program at Pompeii, with a
it
setting
was.
moved to ancient Rome to medieval Baghdad. Yeah, okay.
Ah, lovely.
Oh, it's the theme has just started again.
So we're stuck in a permanent Randall and Hopkirk loop now.
Right. Oh, here we go. What's Shelley trying to play to us?
I wish I was a spaceman, the fastest guy alive. I'd fly you around the universe in
Fireball
XL5.
way out in space together, conquerors of the sky. My heart would be a fireball.
All right, yeah. I play this quite often. I love that song.
Oh, I feel like I'm.
On my way home.
So my Zoom just asked me, "Are you playing music? Set up professional audio."
No, we want it
knows.
nice and amateur.
Yeah, it's
We
all
want it
about amateur
amateur. Yeah.
Well, on that bombshell preview to perhaps what will be the full-length special,
Yes.
it's time to get close to the microphone.
No, it
No,
certainly isn't,
we
Benji.
haven't
If
talked
you've
about
not got
what
a
we're
script
doing
in
next
front of you,
week.
what are we
What are we
talk
going
about?
to talk about next week?
I think Benji will decide. It's written down in front of you. Just that's the hint.
I'm just being annoying now. Well,
You got that right.
I'm going to swerve everybody and say we're going to do a theme tune special next week. That's what we're going to do next week. Carry on this, because why not, quite frankly?
Okay.
Alrighty then, we're changing it all up.
We are changing it up on the fly because it's a good idea.
You're crazy.
It is a good
It is a
idea.
very good
And what
idea.
do you do about good ideas? You keep
stick
them
with
up
them.
and you stick with them and you keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
The alternative to that would, of course, be the adventure game, but now who knows when that will be? There we go.
Possibly after the theme tune special. Is it theme tune special or is it just music?
We'll just call it.
I think it'll naturally
Theme
bleed,
tune,
won't
theme
it?
tune.
Yeah. So
Just
that's
music
horrible.
special themes. Yeah, get some plasters.
Just before we
Get
go,
plastered.
it's time for another shout out. This time, once again, it's 42nd Seagoon, the founder of the Save the Scarrison charity Tombola, a game in which people pick tickets out of a revolving, landlocked body of deep water, and the winner is the person who ends the game without being captured by Zygons.
Ziggins.
yes.
Benji, there's a bit of script.
Yes,
for you to read.
I'm on it. I'm on it. I'm on it. Don't worry. Sorry, everybody.
Well, I am
Sorry,
worried
everybody.
because you're not doing it.
If you're a Benji and Nick patron, and you've not heard your shout out yet, don't worry. We are going to be doing loads and loads of shout outs in the coming weeks, so don't worry at all. We can't fit them all in one, and we don't want to. We want to stagger it about a bit, because that way then you will get your moments to shine in the glorious cup of time, whatever that means.
Aye, the cup of time, brother.
Aye, look out for your name in the future. I've got a list of them right in front of me here. But I'll save them for later. On that
And I
note,
picture
it's
taking a name out of a cup of time. That's what I'm
the
picturing
cup of
now.
time, brother.
The cup of time.
time.
Alrighty.
So,
Well,
as
rock and roll.
Benji
Well,
said
from
some
me,
minutes
from
ago,
Benji Z, it's goodbye.
And for me, Nick Piss, goodbye.
And from you, Shelley Jean, it's bye for now.